Seems that we will continue right away. I'm happy to be here, by the way, back in Dublin after so many years. I was even more thrilled when I heard that they were putting me in the Gibson. Because the Gibson for me is actually, well, I was thinking I was going to the supercomputer, the Gibson, from the movie Hackers. Well, it was a hotel. And as you have seen, my talk is about IoT. And then they put me in this hotel, stay, eat, connect. Connect to what? To the USBs, the plugs into the wall socket? Is anybody using that? I hope not, because you never know what really happens with that. So, I'm not that idiot that is using those sockets. Idiot, ID.IOT, or the idea of IoT. And actually, I have to learn my manners first. I have to say hi. Welcome. This hi is also the closing slide. Not right now, but in the end. And then the hi is a completely different meaning. You will see that. But let me first introduce myself. My name is Righard Zwienenberg. I'm a senior research fellow at ESET. I'm also on the advisory group of Europol's EC3, European Cybercrime Center. I'm on the board of several organizations. I grade conference papers, and there's always one thing, and that is my name, Righard Zwienenberg. I call myself Richard, which is easier, but it is always miswritten. So I actually have made sure that here you can really see how it is written. Just to introduce myself. Yeah, good. With a G. And the funny thing is, my parents call me Richard, and they gave me this name. Yeah. So I want to start off the whole problem with IoT devices with a movie. Now, the movie is in Dutch. What is being said is irrelevant. This is a Secretary of State, Erik van den Burg, from Immigration, and this was with a lot of people, the refugees, coming to the Netherlands, and they needed housing. So, where do we put them? And this is a public debate on television, and he's a Secretary of State. So what is being said is in Dutch, but you will get it in a moment.
De Oekraïners, of ze nou in de procedure stappen of niet in de procedure stappen, overwerken we, zou ik bijna zeggen, de IND'ers ook nog heel nadrukkelijk. Dus daarbij vol in de bak. Tot slot, en dat is dan
helpen bij het vinden van immigratiediensten wanneer je lokaal...
Siri. U ziet alle lijnen worden
So he actually says
worden benut.
every channel is being used, including Siri. I can tell you, this is not the government phone. They don't have like the assistant enabled. Actually, they don't even have an iPhone there. And it is a really secured phone. This is his private phone, and he's actually putting it on top of the government phone. Now, the question is, why does he have his assistant on? Does he also have that phone with him when the government is like talking about new laws or having their weekly meetings or in a top secret meeting? I mean, why did he do that? That was interesting. So I decided to do a little experiment when I was in Belgium, also doing a presentation, with smart speakers. So let's try that here.
Okay, Google. Count to 1 million.
Hey Siri. Call home.
Hey Alexa. Tell me a joke.
Now I hear nothing, which is really good. That means you all have it disabled. When I was actually in Belgium, in Antwerp, there was one journalist, a tech journalist, and his watch started to talk back to this slide. And I actually brought one of those devices with me, and it didn't respond because I, of course, put it on silent.
By the way, the mic is off. To turn it back on, slide the switch on the back of Google Home.
I will.
The mic's back on.
Okay, Google, tell me a joke.
What do clouds wear under their shorts? Thunderpants.
That's my bad. I didn't ask for a good joke. But nowadays we have all those IoT devices. We actually saw that at the previous presentation. And in the beginning, there were lots of them, but they were sort of regulated, and consumer and industrial IoT that was really separated. Nowadays it's a much bigger mess. Everything is used everywhere. The smart home example we just saw, like in the previous presentation, it is also used in offices. And yeah, it's really starting to become a problem. So let's look at the views of the internet. how do you think about IoT and the internet? And there's actually like 4 different ones you can identify. The industrial automation, Stuxnet was mentioned already. That's how that started. Smart health. The FDA actually approved a pill with a sensor in it to be swallowed by people who are not completely healthy, so that you can actually monitor that the medicines were being taken. Which is of course really nice, because that doesn't mean that the doctor has to physically be there, but he can see like on the machine, like on a tablet, if the patient really took the pill. Well, smart home, I don't have to explain that. We have seen that already in the previous presentation. And of course, the smart city. Well, the smart city is really nice. There actually is one in the United States. San Diego is really implementing that. And it really helps with congestion. It really has sensors and seeing how busy it is everywhere. But they are all connected to the internet. And that is a big problem. Now, where did IoT start? Does anybody have a clue when it really started? Which year? How about 1970? It's a bit of a stretch because the internet wasn't there. But this is on the Commodore 64 and the Commodore 128, a device which you could actually connect and control all the different rooms in your house, lights, whatever you wanted. And you had to connect to that device with a modem, an analog modem, remember, because at that time we didn't even have digital lines. And that worked because nobody could really hack into it, and many people didn't even have a modem. You had to have you needed to know the phone number, etc. But then I said, okay, this was really nice, but I hear so much of IoT that there's a lot of failures going on. And failures people don't even realize it is an IoT failure. Like the smartphone, the original iPhone from 2007. In 2009, it was actually hacked by a Dutch guy. That's why it's called the Dutch hack. And what he actually did is install, it only works on jailbroken phones, and he's misusing the SSH password. But what he did is like change the wallpaper. But I can read it for you if you can't read it on the screen. Your iPhone has been hacked because it's really insecure. Please visit dollop.com, I hacked, and secure your iPhone right now. And the wallpaper stayed. He actually charged 5 euros to remove it. So that was basically the first ransomware on an iPhone. That when Apple tells you no malware on iPhones, okay. So I looked up the same thing for the very first Android phone. The misuse, it was a fake player. And actually you could only get it as a fake media player if you went to a certain Russian adult site. When you connected to the site with the player, it started to send SMSs to premium rate numbers. So you really were draining your telephone account. Yeah. Then other things like smartwatches. I wear one. Nowadays they are much better, but there's so many of them out there, and so many of them are really weak, and they store a lot of information. Every step I make, it's being recorded in this watch. But where does the data go to? That is an important thing. And actually, one hacker has been able to export smartwatches to steal the PIN code of your bank card. And how he did that was remarkable. He was actually using the gyroscopes in the smartwatch, and when you type in the PIN code, your arm is moving, and with a 90% certainty on the first try, he could actually repeat the PIN code. So, how many of you still do PIN codes? Everybody's using PIN codes with bank cards, right? Do you use your arm with the watch for that, or the other arm? I'm actually bidextral, what is the right word, two-handed, but I use my right hand to type in the PIN code, just to make sure this one is not recording it. And 2 years later, this was 2017, like an Israeli researcher, he actually found an incredible amount of zero-day exploits in Tyson's OS. So it keeps continuing, and I have lots of these examples, like smart TVs that were being hacked from Samsung. It was really nice when you get like a ransomware note, because it could be misused. Now we're getting into the more bizarre things, and there are no children in the audience, which is good. Mattresses. IoT and mattresses. It's not these mattresses. This was just a data leak. The World Championship Soccer and the Belgium team, they had this picture online, and it showed actually for all the different players which mattress they had. They all had their own mattress with their own suspension. But that is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about this IoT mattress, the Smartress with loft detection systems. And you think it's a joke. No, actually you can buy this one in Spain. It's from the company called Doormat, the Smartress. And you can even find it online if you Google for it. It's really nice. It tells you exactly what it will do. How does it work? It sends an alert to your mobile phone whenever someone is using your bed. In a questionable way. It depends, of course, where the mattress is being located, because in some facilities it is the proper way to use it. How it is constructed, and it actually has a sensor in there, and it is actually using a 4G GPRS module to transmit that. So think about this. So, I was just in the Gibson Hotel Connect. I don't know what they recorded of me. And then there are actually ladies here as well. So a smart hairbrush. It actually is counting how many times you're stroking your hair and recording that. Not only that, but it is sending the data to the cloud. A smart fork. It's actually how long it took to eat your meal. The amount of fork servings. Intervals between forking servings. I don't know. It says eat slowly, lose weight, feel great. To be honest, if you eat slow, my steak gets cold. Smart toaster. This is a special one. It was at the CES in 2017, where this was being promoted by the company Griffin. And lots of people went to the stand, but never saw this toaster. And the next day, actually, when you went there to the webpage, you couldn't even find that toaster online. It didn't exist. It was actually a trick from them to get you to the stand. So that was a kind of a failure too. Smart toys. So, no, I see some people smiling. It's not those toys like from the bed. These are really for kids. My friend Kayla, Princess Kayla, dolls that's for children, and you can talk to them and they respond. Except everything is being recorded. In Germany, it's actually illegal to have this doll right now, because everything is being recorded and sent to the cloud, stored somewhere. It is always on. So imagine your daughter has been playing with one of these dolls, and she's now in bed, and you are going to do your bank account, or you'll have to log into a website. What was my password again? Oh yes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That is being recorded and sent to the cloud. And it's not only that. There was a lot of things. It happens more and more. The reason I am including this slide is for this sentence here. Without parental consent, according to a complaint sent to the FTC this week, the Federal Trade Committee. And they are actually now on this. And for the Federal Trade Committee to really, to look into dolls, I mean, it is a serious case. And it is not only that, because you have many of them, like teddy bears, that leaked millions of recordings, connecting with Bluetooth to the internet. And it says a message you can hack. Yeah, and later you get hacked by the message when it returns to you. Because you don't know what is really being stored there. Sometimes it is okay, in the health industry, like the FDA approved pill, that it is being used, but it can also go wrong. In a hospital, a smart pump, to deliver IV could be hacked through Wi-Fi. Go figure that if you have to get your antibiotics or, your pain killing and somebody is changing that, I'm pretty sure if it's the morphine dripping and you get more morphine, you're happy, but eventually you will die. Or this one. The firmware and the software for pacemakers had to be updated for a lot of people. Because they were, collectible and reachable through the internet, which is weird. Really stupid things like iKettles. Who is connecting an iKettle? Does somebody have an iKettle? You can, I mean, people are lazy, I guess. You can start boiling water by using the app on your phone. But at the same time, this one actually is leaking the Wi-Fi password. Anybody could connect to it and see the Wi-Fi password. So you see, there's a lot of connectivity with Internet of Things, where it can really go wrong. And one of there are actually two movies I'm going to show you. They're not that long. This is actually on the highway. It was not on the highway, but it was like on the parking lot, but it could happen on the highway. And somebody took over the brakes of a Jeep.
It's not fun to have your 2-ton SUV's brakes hacked just as you're parking in front of a ditch.
Okay, hold on tight. Hold on. Oh.
That's what I've learned from Charlie Miller and Chris Valasek, a pair of hackers who have spent the last year developing a piece of software that can wirelessly sabotage this 2014 Jeep Cherokee.
So they could actually take over the entire Jeep Cherokee just using Wi-Fi. And if you think that Wi-Fi or Bluetooth is useful, it is. Everybody's using it. But think about this. This is an e-skateboard. And I've seen actually many of them here in Dublin. Also those little pets, I don't know how you call them, the steps, similar thing. Another movie, this is a short movie, but it goes really quick, but you can imagine what happens.
It turns out those electric skateboards could be even more dangerous than they look. Hackers have found a way to control them remotely, leaving a rider in the lurch.
So the next time you're driving one of those little steps and you see a guy with a laptop on the pavement, be careful. So a Boeing 757. In August 2016, they are not made anymore, but in 2016, finally somebody was able to actually take control of a Boeing 757. Remotely, being on the ground. Because, with radio frequency communications. Now, they are not being made anymore. But myself, I have another experience, with this plane, the A380. I actually came from the United States, on one of the first flights with an A380, with British Airways. And then, in 2018, I have devices which I need to charge, and I charge them, and they were like USB charging ports, which is nice, and I put them in there, and suddenly my screen, in British Airways, the little screen you have in front of you, changed into this. Whoa, I got an IP number, I got like a database number, okay, I'm in the United States and I want to go home. Let's not continue right now. But, I mean, I'm pretty sure that if you give this to a pen tester, they could do really nice things with it. The problem is, how do you park an Airbus 380 in your parking lot or in your garden to do that? So these are all like IoT devices. So if we really look at it, from 2011 to 2020, there's an increasing number of connected devices. 2011 there were 6 billion, in 2020 there were 24 billion. They are generating an incredible amount of money for the operators, for the mobile network operators, because all the traffic is using bandwidth, and that earns them money. Now, the weird thing is that in 2008, the number of things connected to the internet already exceeded the number of people on Earth, and by 2020 there were 50 billion connected devices already. There are no new numbers yet because, well, COVID got in the way, so people stopped like monitoring that. But it is significant. And as you now know that, like, even in businesses like enterprises and at homes, everything is interconnected. So specifically since COVID and people started to work from home, you connect from your home to the office. But your home network has like IoT devices connected to it. Are they suddenly able to get into the enterprise network? So when you look at that, it is like, it started to be mixed. You cannot just protect your home or just your SMB or your enterprise, because nowadays everybody is calling in like, yeah, it is safe. It's through VPN. Yes, but your house is not safe. You have IoT devices on your network, and yes, you are VPNing in, but even on your own laptop which you're using or desktop, you may have things installed that gets information sent somewhere, which suddenly is also able to connect to the company network. Now, I always hope that somewhere some governments are taking control And my hope actually was settled for the European Committee or the European Union when they actually in 2015 had this initiative, the Alliance for Internet of Things Innovation. It started out really nicely. There were some really nice documents. The last 3 years, not much new, except for a new logo. I guess that is what you do if you're not really working. You make a new logo. Yeah. So, IoT, Stuxnet was already the first one, we have heard that. But since 2014, the attacks on the critical infrastructure is really on the rise. And we have seen that many, many times. One of the things is in Destroyer, which was in Ukraine before the war started, where actually at Christmas there was a blackout. And it turns out that the industrial controllers were all reachable through the internet. And they were actually be able to be taken over by, in this case, we assume like the Russians. A year later, they did it again, by the way, also during Christmas. So was that already a trial? Like invading the Ukraine? We never know, of course, that's speculation. And if you look at how you can find all these things, Shodan, everybody knows Shodan? You can find a lot of connected devices that way. And it's also interesting to see that the majority is basically Europe and the United States. It's everywhere, but not as dense as in our regions. So after the 2014 incident, I actually made this map. And these are all industrial controller systems from power grids in the United States. And yes, you could actually connect to them. I didn't do that. I still want to go to the US and return home then. Pretty sure they will allow me in then, but not out. But it's scary that so many things are being detectable. And this was just Shodan. But right now we have more than Shodan. We have Sensis, Zoom Eye, FOFA, I forgot the name of that one. Binary Edge. And they are all able actually to really look for devices. And Binary Edge, if you don't know that one, I suggest you really look into it, because it has something really unique. It is actually programmable. You can actually have your own scripts in there, so you can extend your search capacity. And that is really needed if you really want to look for something. This one is also really great. Gray noise. It is not finding everything, but it is monitoring the internet for like suspected activity coming from IoT devices. So if you have that running in your house, it's freeware. You can actually see what is happening. Now, actually, this is from yesterday. Mandiant actually published a report about cosmic energy. Again, they found something new, where actually they could switch off like electricity. And that is interesting because I don't know if you recognize this. These are solar panels. I'm getting 17 of these on my roof this Saturday. Actually today. So when I'm getting back home, they're there. I'm getting an app and I can see all of them. I can actually also control them with the app, but the power company can control them too. Because if the grid is overloaded by too many people generating power, they will switch them off. If the power company can switch them off remotely, other people can do too. So I'm really going to look into how that is protected. And of course, this as well. I mean, the IoT devices, everybody at home has these routers. Really bad. These were the high-end routers. And because of a bug in like a script, security script from Trend Micro, which is embedded in the device, they were really going down. And you only had to reboot. That was okay, but still it caused a lot of inconvenience. So basically we can say that we need to rebuild trust to make it more secure. And the question is, how can we do that? Because we have to build that internet of trust again. And that has to be done by governments, by you, by us. We have to think about it. So basically, with the conclusion,
I think I did it again.
Don't make that mistake again. Because we have to evolve. We have to do high. We should not rely on artificial intelligence. We should rely on human intelligence. You have to be sensible connecting these devices, how to use them, how to protect your network at home. And you know, everything is evolving over time. I mean, does somebody, I'm 56, still remember these old tape things? It's like an old tape recorder. It's a final word, how I want to close down. You have to make it for free because it's really old. Never gonna tell a lie, yeah. We know each other for so long. And that is the interesting thing. These conferences is where you can learn about that. And you really should practice whatever you learn. And not just for me. I mean, I really love the previous presentation. I learned from that too. And you should do that, because if we don't do that and everybody keep going on making the same mistakes, eventually this will happen. This was last year. So an online cybersecurity event had to be cancelled because it was hit by cyber criminals. So that said, I guess there's 1 minute left right now, but that is good because we are here. So if you have questions, I will be around for just a few more minutes because I really have to fly back home. It was my pleasure to be here. You can contact me. I usually respond the same day. And just as a teaser, I'm actually working on something new. Oh, that's not in this. I'm actually now working on the Flipper Zero. I don't know if you've heard about it. It's a great hacking tool. Oh, sorry. It's a great usability tool, but with the wrong firmware, with the better firmware, well, you can do lots of nasty things, including taking over a Tesla. So maybe I will be back here next year to show you that. Thank you.